Next on the chopping block, we have Dark. Yeah, for us.
I have what is this? Is it am I
You want
gonna
me to
yeah, the
read the
most
title here?
heretical last boss queen from villainous
Mhm.
to savior. Yeah, I'm
Slay.
not reading the fucking Japanese
Yeah,
title. If you
it's
want to do
he.
that, then
Yeah, it's 悲劇の元凶となる最強ゲドラストボス女王は民のために尽くします。Yeah, it's a
yeah,
very,
if you
very
wonder
long title.
why
It's one of those classic, super long title names that are just like, why? Why would you do this? But yeah,
yeah,
anyways, keep going.
this is about Pride Royal Ivy is the final boss and the all-around scum of the Otome game to a beam of light with you. Um, and yeah, in lieu of doing the whole description, yeah,
It's a villainous
this is
series, right?
about this is about a person who is hit by a truck, and gets reincarnated as the villainess in an Otome game with all of her memories and vague memories of the Otome game. Um, and her character has done things like enslave one of the other main characters and force him under contract to kill his mother, just for fun.
Nice.
Uh,
Hell yeah.
yeah, and it's just
Wow,
like
just
in
like me.
general, like an actual villainous, like not even like a cartoon, like cartoonishly evil, but like in the extreme sense, not in the sense of like she's like mean. It's like no, she's actually like
Not
committing
in the sense of Yas
crimes.
Queen. Yes.
Um, but yeah, so our main character is reincarnated as that. Obviously, her whole thing is she dies later on in the story when she turns 18. Um, and what's a little bit interesting about this is that very early on, she stops her father from getting into an accident, and her mother would set off a chain of events where her mother, the queen, would also die. And she stops that very early on without realizing that that's even possible for her to like subvert the story. The large part of the main first episode is her thinking that she can't subvert the story and is just like, well, fuck, I'm just gonna die when I'm 18. Great. Um, and yeah, so we kind of just take off from there. Instead of
Hmm.
it, well, technically she's still quote unquote the main, like one of the main love interests. Stale Royal Ivy. She technically does still. He's technically is like kind of enslaved. Because he's forced to join the royal family under adoption because of what's it called? He can teleport. Yeah. By the way, people have powers in
What?
this. Yeah, he can teleport.
Yeah. Okay. So it's supernatural powers. Okay, but
Yeah,
it's
so
not
he
just
has
like
supernatural.
small powers. It's actual big powers.
Yeah, significant. Oh yeah, they also think that the main character has precognition, which she doesn't. It's just because she has knowledge of what's going to happen because of the whole you
The
know
game thing. Yeah.
reincarnation thing.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, moving on from that. I'm trying to think of what else is like kind of the big ticket
This is
items. Yeah,
this
so that's kind of it. Like
is this
Stale becomes like
mini
her
arc?
like servant,
Is it mini arc?
kind of.
What is it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
at first, like it's her building a relationship with Stale. Um, she winds up pulling strings so that he can actually message his mother and like write letters to her and keep in contact. Um, but she's also unknown to everyone else, grappling with the events of the Otome game. So
Mhm.
rather than like she's very too stale as well, apologetic at certain times, just because she is aware of like what could have happened, essentially, like what she did, more or less, which I think was a pretty interesting angle to go for. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so she just builds a relationship with him. He becomes very protective. And then she winds up befriending her the main character of the game, who is her like younger sister, like adopted sister as well. Um, And it kind of just goes from there that she is building up, as these series do, to become like the main character savior type, and the sort of polar
This
opposite.
isn't it is there's a lot of things that kind of this sort of these sorts of series usually juggle, right? There's potential statecraft, there's the reverse uh, harem, there's the kind of development of the character and doing, potential slow life or RPG kind of style build-ups, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff a lot of balls that can potentially be juggled. Oh, well, how's the focus in the series?
It's pretty. I feel like it's pretty locked in because at least right now it's kind of only her, and it is listed as the mains are Pride, Stale, and Tiara. And Tiara is like the old MC. Pride is
Hmm.
the MC, is like the villainous, and then Stale is the like brother-in-law slash love interest at this point. And they're pretty
Uh,
locked in. Well, not brother-in-law, like literally, you know, like I said, technically enslaved. Um,
mhm.
but free now, so it's all good. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, so it kind of like there is a romance thing that bounces off between them. There's not really a lot of statecraft right now. It's a lot of like um, it's more so of like the interpersonal relationships and bouncing off of the events of the Otome game. What I would say is has come up too, which I haven't seen more of in season in episode 3 yet. I'm wondering if they're really going to carry a lot of that forward or not. Is that Stale has a nightmare about the events of Pride forcing him to kill his mother.
Okay.
And that was also before she kind of like broke the chains of like allowing him to have contact with his mother as well. So I'm wondering if like that was
Mm.
just a like one-off thing or if these characters are like going to start more reacting to that. The other thing that kind of happened was her mother, the queen, has precognition, um, as well, and like that's how she becomes like the new queen. Essentially, is like she develops her powers of precognition.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the queen is like now saying like, oh, she's cut off of the future for Pride now for some reason, and she's the only person who that's happened for. And yeah, I would say it's juggling like those aspects pretty well. I'm not really sure about the statecraft aspect. There was like a little line from Pride being like, I like no matter what my future is, like I want to build like the best country possible for my family and like my countrymen.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would say the most original things about this series so far are the, horrific events that she caused, essentially, or was going to
Uh-huh.
cause. Um, the main character very much being sort of stuck on that factor in a way. She's very like, like I said, it's very hard for her to move on from those events that haven't actually technically happened.
Mhm.
And whatever they might do with the nightmares of like with like sales like nightmare stuff, if like that kind of bleeds in of people being a little taken aback or something, or like having different perspectives of this character before meeting her, or if that even
Mhm.
turns into anything with someone else with like different powers or something like that. Not really sure if that's going to happen. I'm curious to see if like there is with like other abilities. Um, Also, I guess like the abilities do kind of make things a little bit interesting with the role that Stale is playing, because there's already been a almost not heist film type scenario, but of him like pulling strings, like setting up traps and stuff like that to essentially sabotage another character that was trying to um, sabotage Pride's reputation. And so he's using his
Right.
teleportation to be like non-confrontational, but to like like slip evidence in places and shit like that. So I think like that
Mhm.
aspect could be pretty interesting too. It's like you have a character that teleports, like that's kind of a big deal. And so far they've used it. So and using that to navigate statecraft or what you call it, not statecraft, but like political blockades that you would normally have with like confrontation, I think is a pretty
Right,
interesting
right,
thing to do.
right.
So overall,
Kind
I'd
of
say this
avoiding the
series
usual kind of
decently
like
sets
Game
it
of
apart.
Thrones drama stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the series is like decently setting itself apart for now.
Okay. Um, I know that this power again, just going through this kind of standard stuff. I know this was made by OLM specifically. I think the producer, right, Yoshioka Daisuke, assembled his sort of motley crew under OLM. I think from a combination of this kit show that they did, Kokotama, scraped the producer or director from that, Nita Norio, as well as a lot of the others like director of photography, animation director, stuff like that. And I know that, yeah, so I think it's like a combination of that and some other people from the outside, from subcontractors and
Yeah,
so on.
there's some people
Uh,
from the holdover from the same studio from
yeah,
what was it called? The definitely not gay fantasy bishojo.
yeah, and
There's nothing.
he
Yeah,
also pulled a little bit from the Pokemon stuff that did, right? Some connections
yeah.
from there as well. And so, what do you think about the general OPED kind of audio visuals as well, and general
Audio visuals, I
audio
think, are
visuals of
pretty
the
solid.
series?
Yeah, I think everything's pretty good.
Hmm.
I think the OP is like a little, kind of like whatever. But
Hmm.
I think as far as like quality goes, like I really have no complaints. I think
Yeah.
this looks
Well, it
better
should be pretty solid
than.
overall, unless they're getting spooned off to like 50 different subcontractors, right? It should be pretty solid overall.
Yeah, there's
The
definitely
staff.
nothing that's like, standout bad. There's nothing that's been standout great. Um,
Hmm.
but there has been like, yeah, there's like a sword fighting scene that's like not, it's not doing anything crazy, but again, like you would expect in some cases for something that includes like a scene of a character jumping over someone for it to start looking like fucked up.
Hmm.
Um, like she does like a, what would you call it, like a front flip while jumping over a person maneuver, and like that actually didn't look terrible. So you can kind of guess that like the series is going to at least be decent visually. I feel like from gauging with just that alone.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, overall, I would say I'm kind of happy with it. It's definitely better than that. God, I don't even remember the name of it. Not Death Flag. I still think Death Flag is obviously the like king at this point. Or
Katarina slash Death Flag, yeah, is the
yeah,
same.
yeah. That
Yeah,
that one is gonna be like the ruler, I think, at this point.
yeah.
But
The issue
it's definitely
is with
better than
bringing
the
up some
other
of
one
these
that came
series.
out
Yeah,
like 2 seasons ago.
yeah, yeah. I know which one you're talking about. I just forget
Because
the
that one
title.
Which
was
one?
like okay. It was the other villainous one that came out.
The one with the Demon King?
Yes. Yeah, that one had its
The
own
Demon
quirks and it
King, and
wasn't like.
she hung out with like his demons and a bird. That one?
Yeah, that one still had like fun aspects to it, but um
Yeah, this one's better than that.
it's definitely better than that. Just from like character and storyline wise. Um
She acts more like a an actual anime protagonist rather than a villainess.
yeah, that other one is like I don't even know. I don't even know what to consider the other one, that last one. That one gets really weird too, with like a really weird like plot contrivances with how it changes. So I think this one has also not like has stick to the core as well pretty well. So that's
Hmm.
that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Uh, Anything else that you want to mention about the series? I know it's a pretty standard kind of formula, although it is, I guess, smoothed out some of the crinkles that you would usually see in these sorts of ultimate game isekais. Uh, that might kind of
Yeah,
turn it into an otherwise
I
mediocre
would
series, but
yeah, I would say things to look out for with this series are the fact that it starts off horrifically bad. Um, it starts off like you're like for me like God, I got like 5 minutes in and I was like, fuck, am I really gonna even get through this? Like, holy shit. Like this is
Right,
because,
right,
you
right.
know, again, if you've seen Death Flag with like Katarina, like you're sitting there and you're like, oh, we're doing this again. Oh, okay. We're
Mhm.
doing this shit. Like this is literally just the same. Um
Yeah.
and then once other characters start getting introduced, like it starts getting a lot better about halfway through episode 1 and episode 2 and into episode 2.
Right.
It drastically improves with Style like being introduced and then the expanded cast. So
Mhm.
I think there is probably going to be decent stuff worth watching here. I hope they tackle some more of like the false memories type things with the essentially true timeline that should have happened. I do
Mhm.
kind of hope that they have um, something with that. I hope it's not nothing like too serious of like trying to reintroduce the true timeline, but I do hope that they have like some sort of like questioning by other characters of like, you know, like why do I feel like why does this feel off, you know, like type thing, and seeing if there's like some way to resolve that. Um
Right, right.
I do kind of but yeah, I do kind of hope there is like a little touch of that just cuz
Touch up, yeah.
that I feel like would set it even further apart from the other villainous
Yeah, it
series.
would definitely be an upgrade. Yeah, sure. All
But
right.
yeah, other than that,
Uh,
I would definitely recommend it. I think this is a solid 7 to 7.5 from mall standards.
all right. Well, again, I definitely want to check this out as well, especially because again, the main character is also voiced by Faruzai, and
Never heard of
I
her.
yeah, just random person on the street, but I want to check that out. I know again, as Dark mentioned, the character settings are pretty unique, or potential for development is pretty unique. So I want to check that out as well. So if you guys are interested, this was originally a web novel original, and then it got adapted into light novel slash, and now into an anime, right? And it is again the most heretical last boss queen, from villainous to savior, also known as 悲劇の元凶となる最強けどラストボス女王はみんなのために尽くします。This is OLM Studios heading the front, and yeah, motley crew of OLM, Pokemon slash some kids show, Kokotama people coming together and make this pretty good. Again, as Dark recommends it, please do check it out if you are interested. Thank you very much